Hello, John Dale here. We're doing our low budget hunting trip up to the game production area here near the Black Hills of Spearfish, South Dakota. We figure anybody can go and spend $1,500 on all sorts of expensive gear to go out and get a Black Hills whitetail. We don't have that luxury right now, so we're kind of doing a low budget hunt. We've got just some standard gear and the essentials that we're packing up for the trip. Bringing a little bit of food, some high energy food. Got Grandpa's old 3030 model 94 that I'll be using today to hopefully get a South Dakota whitetail. So thank you. Okay, so here we are in the backyard. It's not terribly early this morning because we figure since it was a full moon last night, they're going to be bedding down and we'll have some time to kind of hike out before they get active. But as you can see, we're doing this really low budget. What I've read is that bicycles, in terms of transportation, are more efficient than eagles even, flying, in terms of the amount of weight that you can move and the work you can accomplish travel-wise. So this seems like a pretty good way to save money. We're not driving thousands of miles to go and get a deer. We're just going to ride up the hill here and hike in. So we're hoping that we have a real economical hunt and experience. So if all goes well, we'll be having a whitetail down in this trailer here. So, all right, cool. So we'll be back with another video shortly. So we're just here. We just got to our production area. This little ravine. In Arizona, I would call it an arroyo, but we're not. We're actually in the Black Hills of South Dakota, doing a super low budget hunt. But the way I figure it, being within bicycling distance of this, is probably worth about $3,000. So we're not in too bad a shape. I know I got the wrong camo print, but it's all I had. So we're going to try to blend in with the tree trunks and see if we can't surprise a deer that's been out eating all night and frolicking in the moonlight. So we just came across our first little yearling doe and we surprised her. It was on the other side of a big log. We might have had a shot. Decided to head to the other side so the sun was at our back. We're way up this beautiful little oak ravine that's next to it. I'm guessing that's wheat over there, but we'll see. Lots of new wheatgrass springing up, winter wheatgrass springing up. And there's just deer everywhere up here. And turkey, wild turkey. Gorgeous day to be out hunting. I don't know if we're going to get anything today, but it's a wonderful place to be here in the northern Black Hills, South Dakota. So couldn't have been more wrong. It was corn. I should have known that. That was my first instinct. But I think what we're going to do is hunt about 30 or 40 yards back into this forested interface. Now, I really don't know much of what I'm doing. I didn't grow up hunting here. I got my grandpa's model 94, and I didn't get a chance to grow up here hunting, but we moved back years ago, and happy to be here in South Dakota. The hunting is one of the most amazing parts about being here. But yeah, we're going to work our way. My instincts are telling me that if we work our way up through this little interface with the food, that we might actually luck out and come up on a critter that's been sleeping since 3 a.m. or something and is ready for another meal. Right here. So we found a good little spot here, kind of near the top of a ridge with several well-worn game paths, game trails coming up over the ridge. So we're just going to kind of sit here and grab a bite to eat and see if we can't hook up with a whitetail today. And it got me thinking, like, you go online and you watch videos, you know, to try to get some tips about how to hunt, you know, tips and tricks, and they're like, well, you gotta get one of these game trail cameras, and you gotta get some scent reducer, and you gotta get a rifle that'll shoot 400 yards by the time you take all their advice. You're like $3,000 into this little project. You can buy a lot of beef for $3,000. And so it just got me thinking about how cool it would be to get my deer and not have to pay so much to do it. Plus, this is a public hunting area, so pack it in, pack it out. Nothing yet. We've seen just one whitetail today, so we'll keep at it. So we've been kind of busy. We found a really nice spot next to where it looks like they've planted some winter wheat. It's right over here. And we got a good line of sight. They're coming up from town, crossing that fence line where the production area begins. Tons of deer sign, tons of fresh dung, tons of tracks. So this is where they're coming every day. So now it's a matter of trying to catch them when they're there. So we're gonna, now that we've scouted this out and gotten the lay of the land, we're amateurs at this. We're doing our best just based on stuff we've read and advice we've gotten from folks. We set up a little deer blind here, so we kind of just piled a few branches around. Found an old piece of burlap that was a deer blind at one point, and kind of just using it to break up the terrain and make it difficult to be spotted in here. And so we're going to head out for the day. It's about noon. We're going to head out for the day. Maybe we'll get lucky on the way out, but I don't know. And then we're going to come back early tomorrow and see if we can't be good, patient whitetail hunters and maybe hook up with a nice whitetail in the morning. So we're going to call it a day for now. We're going to hike back out, and then we'll be back up early in the morning tomorrow. So we'll see you then. Hello, we're back. I suppose it's about 5:15 a.m. and we're heading up to our spot on the bikes again. As you can see, we've got our little setup. We're on the campus of Black Hills State University, right here in Spearfish, South Dakota. It's a beautiful little campus, well known for teaching in biology and some of the physical sciences. They need a little more computer science, but that's okay. They're still a good college, university, Black Hills State University. But anyway, since we're on our bikes, we can kind of take a shortcut right through the middle of campus. We got our lights on for safety to make sure we don't get run over by cars. So we're headed up to our spot that we made yesterday, and we're going to camp out and see if we can't surprise a deer. Again, this is an amateur hunt. Look at my camo. I know that this is not the right camo, but it's better than nothing. And we're going to do our best here just as amateur local hunters who didn't grow up with access to all of the resources that a lot of folks have. We didn't grow up in the area with people with private land, you know, which is really cool. Or we didn't go hunting every year with uncles and dads and know the lay of the land. And right now we don't even have a vehicle that we can use to get up the hill. So if that's not an indication of how much we want to be out there and up there hunting, I don't know what is. We got to ride probably, I guess it's probably 2 or 3 miles uphill in order to get to our spot. But honestly, I can't wait to get there. So let's pack it up and hit the road. So we just got up here to the spot. We're going to walk up the hill and do our camp. And the moon is beautiful. It's a great night. About 2-3 mile an hour winds. There was one guy hiking in before us. But other than him, it doesn't look like there's anybody else out here. Should be a gorgeous morning for hunting. So this is our setup, and as the sun comes up on this, I'm not really liking it because we're more exposed than it was yesterday, and I think we're just going to be seen pretty quickly by anything that comes out. So, well, I think it's back to the drawing board, and we're going to grab our little burlap that we found yesterday and maybe walk a little bit. We surprised a couple deer yesterday, and I should have had a shot, but things happened a little too fast, and there's a big tree in between me and the deer, so I couldn't get anything off. But yeah, I think we're kind of back to the drawing board here. We struck out, man. So, all right, we're going to go walk and explore a little more and see if we can't find a better setup for tomorrow morning. Okay, so we're back. Yesterday we gave up a little bit early because it just wasn't feeling right. We were a little too exposed, and I wanted to do a little more research. As an amateur hunter here in the Black Hills, I wanted to do a little bit more research on what we could do to line up our efforts with where the whitetail were going to be. And today we have a cold front moving through, and we have a rapid barometric pressure change, and so I'm thinking this might be a good opportunity. We also cheated a little bit. Yesterday we went by the thrift stores and we picked up I spent $6 on some camouflage. So I got some camo gloves, a camo shirt, and a couple pieces of fabric just to kind of break up our backpacks. So I'm thinking that once we get placed, that'll help a little bit. And we're going to take it slower today so that we're not producing as much sweat and not tipping the deer off, because their primary defense weapon, as I understand it, is their nose. So wish us luck. We'll have more videos from the trail today. Here we go. So we upgraded a little bit. Our hunting garb gives us a little more confidence coming out here. I found these at the thrift store. I got these gloves for like $1. They're really nice in terms of matching the terrain. Probably a little overkill, but I like them. And then I found this real tree shirt, maybe a $20 shirt or so for $2. And then we got some curtains and made face masks out of them. So we've posted up, if you just look down here, we got game trails all through this little ravine. And we're thinking we're just going to post up here from around noon till about 5 o'clock. When the temperature's dropping and the barometric pressure is changing. And we're going to see if we can do what we came out here to do, but we upgraded a little bit for very little money, about $6. Pretty good deal. So I'm going to let you go now, and we'll listen to that wind. We're going to keep hunting. Well, we are still on the hunt. Yesterday we posted up and saw 3. One was just too far of a shot, and it was moving a little too quickly. I didn't want to waste ammo or risk gut shooting it. I thought this would be kind of a neat place to shoot a video just because of this old tree. Looks like it might have been burned at one point, and then just the soot and ash and carbon eroded off of it. Just a gorgeous piece of artwork, and so I wanted to take a moment to appreciate it. Today we found the water source on our hunting area here, so that's cool. We also found some terrain that's not really navigable, and there are no deer around right now, but we do have a rainstorm blowing in, so we're pretty optimistic about running into some deer. It's about 1:30 in the afternoon right now. We're optimistic about running into some deer here this evening. If not, we'll be out at it again tomorrow morning or tomorrow evening until this thing is over. So if I could just say something briefly about the majesty of the Black Hills. This area is supremely beautiful, teeming with wildlife. Thanks to Game Fish and Park for fighting to preserve areas of the forest where you can be free and hunt and enjoy the wilderness all summer long. Yeah, just gorgeous. Happy to be out here. Be happier if we get a deer. but it's really tough to complain. So thanks to Game Fish and Parks for all that you do. All right, moving right along. So we got a couple wild turkeys. Making their way across the ridge line. Sorry, wish I could zoom in more. The tom already passed by. So now in South Dakota, just a reminder, you're not allowed to hunt off the freeways. But right now, we found a major thoroughfare, a freeway through the forest, if you will. And so we're going to, just for our own knowledge, see where this comes out so that we know where the freeway of the forest is, which you are indeed allowed to hunt off of. Also, yesterday, just a reminder for hunters, if you're on a public lands, you are definitely supposed to wear orange, a garment, a complete garment, like a vest or a stocking cap or a coat that is bright hunter orange so that you can be seen out here. Sometimes you get people who are less experienced out here with the rifle and shot selection and all that kind of stuff. And so you want to make sure that you got a nice big bright indicator if you're on a public land so that you can let all the hunters know where you are. Very important. Also, just a reminder, do not hunt off the freeway, the real freeway that is. All right, we're going to hit this on-ramp again and see where this comes out. Good times. All right, so here we are. Today's opportunity just ended about 5 minutes ago, and we're getting the hang of this. And we just had a great day hunting. We have to hike about 6 miles or so to get up to where we want to be, because we come in from town, and it's a long story, but it's worth it. We're still going to do it. It's totally worth it. But boy, it's exhausting. So we found today, we hiked around and found obviously what was not the right spot to hunt, and then we found the right spot to hunt, and we sat down, and within about an hour and 10 minutes we saw 2 does come in within 40 yards of Caitlin. And so she spotted them, gave the signal, didn't tip the deer off. She did a great job. And then they moved off into this little ravine, and I stalked up, and I was watching one of them. I did not see the other one. I was watching one of these does, and she was across the ravine facing me, pointed down a little bit, and I just didn't feel like I had the shot. If I had taken the shot, I was afraid that I was going to puncture the stomach, and so I held back. I didn't take the shot, and I tried to move off to the right a little bit to get a better angle to see if I couldn't create a shot, and the second doe saw me, and that was it. It was over. But we're getting better at this. We understand how the deer are moving. Our camouflage is working perfectly, because I was standing there for a good 5 minutes waiting for this doe to move, and she looked right up toward me several times and didn't have any indication that I was there, so our camo is working great. That's the key, is to be able to be invisible to them. We had the wind position figured out. We got a great spot to hunt, so we're going to be back at it. I think we need to take a day off because we're kind of exhausted. We've probably hiked about 18 to 20 miles in the last 3 or 4 days. It's exhausting, so we're going to take one day off, and then I think we're going to come back on Tuesday and have a repeat of what we did today, because we found the right spot, and we're getting dialed in on this thing here. And I could have taken a shot today, but I held back because I just didn't want to ruin the meat. And so anyway, this is John Dale coming to you from the northern Black Hills of South Dakota, near Spearfish, South Dakota, and we had another wonderful day of hunting here in the Black Hills. And if you've never had an opportunity to come up and hunt the Black Hills, you need to do it. So we're gonna, I guess we have what now, probably a 4.5 mile hike, because we're out away from our spot toward the bottom of where we hunt, and now we got to hike into town and stuff. So we better get going. It's getting dark, and I heard it's gonna rain. So anyway, thanks. thanks for joining us on this video. We'll be back again, and we are going to bag our deer here for sure. And we're just loving this. This is so much fun. All right, so we took about how many days off? Maybe 3-4 days off just to give ourselves a break. We've hiked 40 miles so far during this hunting season, and really have gotten to know our game production area here in the northern Black Hills. Totally worth it. Had a great shot. Probably should have taken it last time, but I held off until we had a chance to go to the range and really understand where the gun is shooting anyway. That was yesterday. So now it is currently 3:19. We got up at 2:30 a.m. and we're going to head back up there for a day of hunting. So we'll be back. Okay, so we're up here hiking around in the hills, trying to find the best spot. And I think we found the best spot for bird dog and deer, because we found what looks to be some cat tracks here. That's a Caitlin track right there. But this is, I don't see any claw marks. I don't see any claw marks on those at all. Since there are no claw marks, I think that's a mountain lion. So we got lots of critters up here, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. All right, we're going to go perch because I think we got a great spot here. So we're back out here in our game production area. We're pushing 70 miles by bicycle and foot, and we've gotten to know our game production area. We've gotten a lot better at understanding whitetail behavior. Yesterday we had a tremendous day, and I fired my first shot and missed, but we got up at 2:45 and we had to bike and hike about 4.5 miles. We got to our spot, we settled in, and it was way deep in the production area. We had to hike a long way to get there, and about half hour after daybreak, a beautiful, I don't know how many points, it was a very mature maybe 5-year-old buck, big rack, comes lumbering by following another smaller buck. Interestingly enough, it looked like maybe a 2-year-old. Had antlers maybe about like that, just above the ear. And so I had to watch those two go by because I've got a doe tag. And then we decided that it was about 10 o'clock, and we figured they weren't going to be moving, so we'd try walk and stalk. And that's a skill that a lot of people don't develop. They'll get a rifle with a high-powered scope, and they'll go out in nature and sit and just wait all day long, and then anything within 300 yards they'll pop off around and try to take. But I've got, this is my grandpa's Model 94, there's my elevator, a matchstick with some duct tape on it, a matchbook, excuse me, and I do not have a scope. So I got to try to get a little closer and do it sort of the old-fashioned way, walk and stalk. And we found just a perfect stretch of the game production area. There was a plateau, and then down the side of the plateau were these rolling little ravines, not huge ravines, so you could really easily navigate through. But right up the top of that, right when we got to the top of that little plateau, before we discovered those ravines, we saw a beautiful 3-year-old, pretty buck. Just looked like he'd been to the groomer. Just perfect shape, just standing there. And we kind of came up slowly, and I figured that's what this is really good for, is to break up your silhouette as you come up above onto a plateau or out from a ravine or a depression, where you can kind of hide the rest of your body and then make sure that you just blend in with whatever's on the surface. So we've thought through a lot of our camouflage, and we're still very novice. But anyway, we had a shot at easily on this buck, 65 yards, very doable. And had to let it go because, again, we got a doe tag, so no buck for us. We let him go. And we waited until he left so that he didn't see us too, in case there was somebody else who wanted to pop him. So we started our walking stock all along the side of this plateau and followed these ravines up and just saw all kinds of deer hiding out in these little ravines. And I was real careful about finding them and taking 3 steps and scanning, 3 steps and scanning, and it took us 3 hours to go about a quarter of a mile. And had a great shot on a little, looked like a button buck, maybe a yearling button buck. And I thought, okay, it's time to end the season. Well, we're out here again today, so we didn't end our season. But it was a strange shot through quite a few weeds and obstructions, and it was a little buck, a little male, not very heavy, and so I didn't want to spoil the meat, so I got cocky. And this is the amateur hunter coming out at me. If I would have just waited a couple minutes, he would have strolled right out with a clear shot, and it would have been a done deal. But I tried a headshot. His head was up, kind of looking back, and I thought, okay, here's my chance to not spoil any of the meat. And I tend to, when I'm shooting, I tend to roll the barrel just a little bit, and that causes it to go low and to the left. And I did not compensate for that, and the bullet went under his jaw and over his spinal cord and just blasted the tree right behind him. And it made such a concussion or percussion that he just went down. And I thought, nailed him. Absolutely destroyed this little critter. And again, here's the amateur hunter in me. I didn't jack in another round and get ready, because about 2 seconds later, I'm celebrating and I said, that's a dead deer. He pops up, shakes a little bit, looks around. I had another couple seconds to take a shot. If I had put another round in, I had another couple seconds to take a shot. And then he got his sensibilities back and took off. We tracked around to see if there was any kind of a blood trail, because if we did hit him, we were going to go do the responsible thing and do what it takes to finish him off if we had any kind of blood trail to follow. Didn't find a blood trail. Found a hole in the tree with no animal or tissue material in it at all. So the bullet just went clean under his jaw and over his back and impacted the tree that was about 2 inches away, 3 inches away from him, from his head. And that's probably what we think knocked him down. So that was yesterday. We were on the bucks, we were on the deer all day long. Our camouflage and our stalking technique and our understanding of the behavior of the animals is spot on now, and it's getting late in the season. There's a lot of pressure up here right now on these animals, and so they've wised up, and there's not a lot of them around. It's a Sunday today, and so Sunday's typically the worst. That's when you want to bring the youngsters out, I think, and just show them the lay of the land and be fairly confident you're not going to get any shots, because they've been blasted from Thursday to Saturday, and Sunday's pretty tough. Sunday morning, we're walking up, and we saw a guy driving out with that. I'm pretty sure it was that first buck I saw. So congratulations to him. And yeah, it just and so I've been trying to figure out how to say this through these series of videos. I've been trying to figure this one out, because this is an important message. Regardless of whether or not we're able to finish our hunt and harvest an animal, and I mean this, I really mean this, it is extremely important for people to get out and hunt, because something happens in your brain and your body and your nervous system that activates. You are the apex predator of this planet, and you don't know that if you've only lived in an urban environment. When you're out here and you're stalking animals, it activates something very special. It gives you a lot of confidence. You are the apex predator on planet Earth, and there's nobody better or nothing better. And you realize that when you come out here and experience a hunting season, regardless, for me, of what happens. You just never know. There's a little bit of luck involved. If we don't have that luck from here on out, Caitlin and I did a high five after we saw that buck. We had him I had them in my sights. No finger on the trigger, just practicing sizing them up. It's probably irresponsible or dangerous or something, but there's no substitute for that kind of practice. We gave each other a little high five after that because we had them in our sights for several minutes. And we know that we have the confidence to know that we can get on the deer now. And that's a big part of the hunting. It's not about pulling the trigger. It's about understanding the terrain. It's about understanding the vegetation. It's about understanding the best way to get a cocklebur off of you. It's about understanding the behavior of the animals. It's about understanding day and night, where they're going to be, where their food and water sources are. And then eventually, it's about pulling the trigger in the right way to harvest an animal that you can take home and enjoy with your family and eat. That's another thing. I'm not really into the trophies myself. I'm into harvesting an animal that my family and I can consume because it's very, very healthy meat. Well, this is John Dale signing off. We have, let's see, it's the 23rd. Hunting season ends on the 30th.
It's the 24th.
Oh, it's the 24th. Excuse me. 24th. Wow. Time flies when you're hunting deer. We're heading into our 70th mile biking and hiking to get up here, and I don't see any sign of quitting. I just got to figure out how I'm going to get out of work this week to finish this off. But it is Thanksgiving weekend, so I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. If it's past Thanksgiving when you see this video, consider this a happy Thanksgiving for the next Thanksgiving. So have a great day, everyone. We'll be back if and when we learn something else about our wonderful game production area here in the North Black Hills. And again, I want to say thank you to Game Fish and Parks and everybody else who participates in making this opportunity to actualize my humanity as an apex predator here in South Dakota. Thank you. Have a great day. Okay, so about 45 seconds after we made that last video, I got my shot. And I just took out our deer for the season. So we're going to go over and get a look at it and clean it up, see what kind of shot I made here, give it a little bit of time. We're not going to run right up. And after all that, I didn't jack in another one, but I don't think I needed to. Okay, there we go.
It's gonna be really shaky. The video is gonna be kind of shaky. Yeah.
On a branch as the sunrise licks him, as he looks down on a seed of grass.